lip reading to do this because we have some great guests today.
Karen Putz is amazing. She's the author of Unwrapping Your Passion, Creating the Life You Truly Want. She's also hearing impaired, so you'll notice during the show, maybe we're going to do a couple things a little bit differently. We also have Mistress Montana, and she is a professional dominatrix, so we won't be seeing her on camera. You'll only be hearing her. So everything is different, and it is going to be amazing.
In fact, I think the only thing that's the same are the great people who show up to be part of the backpack show and us, I guess. And I changed my underwear. So we've got it all covered.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's great.
Backpack show.
You didn't interrupt me hardly. I keep waiting for it now. I feel like now you're just messing with me.
I am.
You're just doming me.
We're going to learn from our dominatrix friend that there's lots of ways to get inside someone's head. And one is to just keep you not getting what you expect. We're going to have fun today. We're going to talk to an incredible coach and author. Karen's written I think Karen has written 8,004 books at this point. She's working on 8,005.
It might be a high estimate, but it's a lot of books.
There's some number.
AgelessPassions.com.
Yes. And Mistress Montana has probably served 1,000 spankings. It's going to be a great time.
Well, those guys had it coming.
We have some great business to cover today. And, the only one thing that's freaking me out a little is that there's this many people here and 0 comments rolling in. So shake it off. Shake it off. We got a quiet gang today. I don't know. It's interesting.
No, I'm ready.
All right.
Good morning to everyone watching the Backpack Show. We are bringing
secretly
business insights from unusual places right now.
I'm going to bring in Mistress Montana. And like we said, it's going to be audio only. So you don't get a face. I can tell you, she looks like a person, it turns out. All the same things.
A very attractive person.
It's very attractive. Well, there's Paul. I just learned that I need a video intro, says Paul. Yes, you do. You could put 1,000 grapes in yours, Paul. All right. I'm kind of freaked out that there's 0 Facebook interaction. I mean, maybe it's just broken.
It's not
there
broken.
We go. There's Deanna. It's here. Hi, Mistress Montana.
Deanna. Hello. How are you guys?
So good. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. It is early, but I've got my coffee. I'm ready.
It is. And, they say that America runs on Dunkin', but I think it's
I think it's Starbucks, actually.
Right? I think so.
I mean, only yesterday was free coffee day. So, that's an interesting sort of first question. People would think professional dominatrix, and they might think things like messed up life or, massive abuse in your past, and you live in some seedy dungeon all day long, and they've only seen
very nice dungeon, actually.
They've seen 50 Shades and all that sort of a thing. What is the path that makes someone decide this is where we're going? It's the Coach Woodard question.
You have to set the scene. So you're working at a construction company, right? How do we find our way into
you mean years ago?
Domination.
Okay. Well, I actually hated my job. And I hated the people that I worked with. And it was one of those things where you're every day getting up and you're time to make the donuts. You're not happy about what you're doing. You're doing it because you're getting a paycheck and you're just kind of slugging along. And so I decided on a whim that I would just quit. That's the beauty of youth. So I just stopped what I was doing, decided I was going to open up my own business, and realized that in the midst of it, that opening up your own business requires a ton of capital. So I saw an ad in the paper. It was the Dallas Observer, one of those little kind of Gazette type papers, that have all the kind of stuff that's going on around town and just kind of all that news and information. So it had an ad in there for a phone sex operator. And I decided to, give the person a call. And I thought, I can do that. I've got an extra phone line, we'll see what happens. So I gave her a call. I made 10 cents a minute on the phone calls. And I was getting paychecks that were like $700 and $800 a week. But the people who were calling me were wanting stuff, they wanted to be spanked and they wanted to be tied up. And this is a phone call though, right? So you're having to tell them to do things to themselves. And I had no idea what it was that they were actually interested in. So I decided, this is back in the day when we still had libraries that you would go to. So I went to the library and I started looking it up and doing some research on what domination was. And I kind of went from there. So I actually got pretty good, at the phone domination. And then the lady that I was working for actually was moving to Dallas and asked me if I would be interested in working for her. I thought, well, I could give it a try and see what it was like. And I still remember the very first appointment I went into, I was just like, oh my God, he's naked. I mean, that's not something you see, right? You're just like, oh my God, but I remember afterwards thinking, this was incredible. I enjoyed myself. I had a great time. I made a really good amount of money for a short period of time, and I wasn't doing anything illegal. And I just thought, I think I found it. I mean, it was like one of those just aha moments. And I guess from there, the rest is history.
Hi, Fazia.
Hi, Fazia. Fazia Burke runs FSB Associates. Len Joy is actually one of her star authors.
His book is right behind me.
Yes, over there. My mom and dad are here. Like I said, good friends with Karen and all that. But they're cool people, and they get what we do here in the show, and they are always interested in learning from people. My first thought on what you just explained and the fact that there's some naked man in there and all that, it sounds so weird, on the face of it. And some people it'll always sound weird. But to what you're delivering for them, like what did that man want? Not like the specifics of the physical things he wanted, but what was he seeking in that interaction with you that he felt he couldn't get in some other way?
And we should clarify that they're not getting sex. So anybody who thinks that is incorrect.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Well, as far as me and my business is concerned, that is absolutely correct. There is no sex involved at all.
Right.
In fact, I never take my clothes off. They do, but I do not. I would have to say that what people are looking for whenever they come in to see me is they're looking to completely let go. But you have to understand that a lot of times they don't feel safe in doing that with their wife or their girlfriend or their spouse, whoever that might be, because of the fact that that person knows them in a certain way. That person knows them as this person who's a go-getter, who's the head of the family, who, takes care of all of the bills, who, is a powerful, executive who runs their own company, or who's a federal judge or whatever their position is, but you see them in a certain light. And it's really hard for people to let their guard down enough with somebody that you expose yourself and let somebody else see you in a completely different light. There's a lot of trust that's involved in that. And I know that you should trust your spouse, right? But a lot of times your spouse fell in love with the person that they fell in love with, not the person that sometimes you need to let out. And so I think that they're very afraid to let that other person see them. I will say that I've noticed trends over the years, and people are actually starting to open up and be who they are, or let that out. That, sometimes I need to be the one who just kind of lets everything go and be submissive. I can't be in control all the time. I'm seeing a lot more couples come in to see me than I have ever before, which I think is a very good thing.
So Deanna loves that your parents are always here, Chris. I'm sure Chris loves that too, especially on days like today.
My favorite, to really be honest. That's my favorite. It's I had a very supportive and very loving, very loving set of parents, but being raised, I mean, there was nothing particularly off limits to ask or talk about or whatever, but that's not how a lot of people are raised. Now, I should point out that you're in the southern half of the United States. You're below the Mason-Dixon line, which means that there's a lot of other expectations that traditionally have been thrown on people in that region. Now, you probably work with people in plenty of regions, but the people that you work with in person, they're coming from an area where they may be a lot more oppressed through religion and tradition. Okay, and do you find that that's like an incredible nut to crack for some of these people in the early shots?
believe it or not, it actually helps. I mean, it's what sends the men to see me. I mean, in Ohio, I mean, everybody's Catholic. I
Mm.
mean, so, and I'm like, well, you can just repent afterwards, right? You just do a couple Hail Marys and you'll be all good. But there's so much guilt that goes along with, religion. Instead of being, this accepting, thing of, this is who I am. It's okay to be who I am. I have, certain desires or I have certain needs. People see it very differently. People interpret religion very differently. And there's a lot of guilt that goes along with that. But at the same time, it's kind of like a rug. You have your rug and you have all these rocks that you kind of keep sweeping underneath the rug. Well, eventually they pop out the other side. So people need to, take care of them. People need to let go and to just not always be in control. I mean, you have a need, you have a desire, and eventually you're going to have to do something about it.
So it's really good for your business then. Religion is really good for your business.
Actually, what you resist persists. I mean, you can be both. People are always shocked that I go to church every Sunday. I mean, they're just stunned because I guess they think I'm going to be a heathen, But I mean, I can be a dominatrix and I can still believe in God and I can still think that I am not doing anything wrong. I mean, if I was a sex therapist, nobody would think anything of it, right? They would just think I'm a therapist. If I was a doctor and I saw naked patients all day long, nobody would think anything of it. I just happen to do more of a play therapy, I guess you would say. I mean, I delve into people's mind, but I also, deal with their body too.
But you're an entrepreneur, and I think people might fail to appreciate that. So you run, is it 5 dungeons? You have
Yeah.
multiple locations, and you do
Dallas,
concierge
Austin,
services.
Dayton, and London. So I have 4 locations.
4. Okay.
4.
So it's a lot to manage. So you're running a business on top of everything else.
It is. Sometimes it feels like that Twister game, where you have one hand on blue, you've got a nose on red, an elbow on green, and you're trying to kind of hold all the pieces together. But this is true.
They said in a lot of different sales reports that the sex toy numbers for sales during the pandemic has gone up like 684%. I presume that you must be booking a lot more, if not in direct contact, but are you doing a lot more distance dom work right now as well?
No, I never shut down. So my business never closed during the pandemic. And I have to tell you, I wasn't prepared for how much this has affected people. So the clients that I see, I mean, you have to understand, so my hour session rate is $360 an hour. That in itself requires a certain type of person, right, that makes a certain amount of money. Otherwise, you've saved up a long time in order to come in for your hour session. So most of the people that I see, I mean, they're like federal judges, there's newscasters, there's business executives, there's, all types of different levels of people, but they're usually at the higher echelon of their career and the higher pinnacle of their career. So when they come in, you have a way of looking at them also. I mean, I see them as, very talented people. I wasn't prepared for how many people came in and actually cried. They would sit down and start talking to me, and then they would just start crying. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like trying to figure out, okay, and I decided that what I needed to do was just have some empathy and some sympathy for them and understand they didn't need me to do anything. They just needed me to listen, because there was so much, pressure on them. I mean, you own your own business. You've been told to go home, enjoy your family and your vacation, but don't forget to pay your bills. And you're trying to figure out, how am I going to pay my employees? How am I going to keep it together? How long is this going to last? You have so much on you all of a sudden, and you have no idea what's going to take place. So there was a lot of people who were just really, I mean, just at their breaking point, and they're trying to be strong for their family and strong for their employees, and just make it look like they know what they're talking about and they know what they're doing and it's all going to be okay, and reassure everybody. But there was nobody reassuring them. And, and when they would come in, they would just, it's like they just broke. And I'm just sitting there, and I kind of joked to some people that work for me. I'm like, I'm going to have to start, getting some tissue boxes, so I can just hand them a tissue box. It's like,
Right.
I was surprised, and
Move some of the
kinda,
floggers, make room for
yes,
tissue boxes.
yes, and it made me really realize, kind of, how I view them, is probably how their wife or their business partner, or whoever else views them. I didn't see these people as, people who normally cry, right? Who, have that kind of emotion, so I can imagine how it's probably very difficult for them to talk to their spouse about things like this that they're interested in.
Well, and they have no one else to talk to because in the middle of a pandemic, your community is pretty gutted. We're
Yeah.
very lucky here at the Backpack to have such an involved community that asks questions and comes in and supports us every day. So Kara is in Scotland, and she's actually curious about the couples dynamic. So when you have couples in there, what's that like?
Well, it usually is one or the other. They either come in and the wife or the husband is wanting to learn how to kind of dominate or interact with their spouse in that way, because that's what their spouse is interested in. So, for example, if the husband is interested in this, the wife is really kind of wanting to learn how exactly to facilitate that for her spouse, or what he's looking for, what he's wanting, what he's expecting from her. Then I have couples who, basically are wanting me to kind of facilitate the play. So I'm like, okay, I'm like the two of us would be dominating him, or, me and him would be dominating her. And so they're just kind of wanting another, I guess you would say, a play partner in there that are both dominating the other person.
Somebody
That
has
brings
to know
up
what
a-
you're doing.
That brings
Well,
up a quick question though too. Is those are all straight heterosexual play situations? Do you also serve as gay community, or how's that work for you?
I do, but gosh, in 30 years, I've never had anybody.
Wow.
So, I mean, and I think it's because of the fact that, there are doms or mistresses out there that, are, that service just that's,
Right.
so I don't think that,
I think they just got all their stuff figured out.
yeah, but they probably do.
Well, no, they
You
definitely
teach
have
me a figure too.
they definitely have the same needs in some ways, but I think what you're saying is correct, Mistress Montana, is that they have they have sort of people who are like, queer forward,
Specialist.
and that they've
Yeah.
got a powerful setup. Like
I
straight,
will say they have a really strong community.
Yeah.
I mean, like you guys talk about your community there, they have a very strong community that they pull from. You will find that, they have their own decorators that they go to, they have their own painters that they go to, they have, their own, stores that they shop at, and, and they network together a lot. They all support each other. This person opened up a bookstore, and then, it's like they'll have an opening and it's like, oh my God, there's like 500 people here, and they're, because they support their community really, really well.
I have a question. I need to know, have you ever had someone come in that you knew, like somebody from work all of a sudden is there, or like where you used to work, or a neighbor or something, or your, kid's soccer coach, and you're like, now I have to whip them? Or do you figure that out before?
I have had one experience like that personally, and then, but it wasn't as close as I had a lady who worked for me, and her uncle actually came in, and when she was there, she actually opened up the door for me. I was on a phone call, and so she answered the door, and when she walked back, I was like, "Where is he?" And she's like, "I don't think he'll be coming in today." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I was really confused. And she goes, "That was my uncle." And I'm like, "Oh, ouch." I mean, yeah, so that was difficult. I have had my daughter's coach, a soccer coach, actually, her husband came in, and I didn't know him, but he was talking, and whenever he was having a conversation, I had a sticker on the back of my car for the school that they went to, and he goes, "Well, my wife actually, is a coach there." And I'm like, "Well, that's really odd because there wasn't very many female coaches, So I'm thinking, oh no. And I have to tell you, that was a very difficult situation for me when I figured out who his wife was, because I really, really liked her. I respected her a lot. She was one of those no nonsense women that had very clear, concise communication. You knew what was expected of you. And I admired that quality. And I remember thinking, oh, I just don't like this. And I don't like this at all, because I felt like I mean, otherwise I don't know the person's wife or the person's husband, right? It's not a personal relationship. I had a personal relationship with this woman, and I'm sitting there thinking all I could do is sit there and like I'm looking at him, and I could think of her at the same time, and I'm just like, oh, get out of my head, it didn't allow me to actually provide a good service, I felt like, because I was, when I'm with a client, I am solely focused on my client and what it is that my client needs. I'm not thinking about, oh my God, your wife would have a fit if she, knew this. I mean, I had all these thoughts in my head. I just couldn't get out of my head. So I just didn't feel like I was able to actually provide for him what it is that he, needed.
Dominatrix client privilege, I think, applies in that moment.
It does.
Mike
It's
Doherty,
also possible she knew.
No.
also true.
Maybe, he said she didn't, but maybe, who knows? I just, and you're absolutely right. I have ran into my clients at many fundraisers and different functions, and we just smile and kind of go about our, different ways. I want from them the same thing that I provide. I want discretion. I don't want you to walk up and say, "Hey, Mistress Montana, how are you?"
You beat them extra hard next time.
Yeah. Gag them, so they can learn how to keep their mouth shut, so I mean,
I think Michael's making a great point here that we're all searching for ways to be seen. So it seems like they can be more themselves with you.
I agree with that. And I wouldn't say more themselves, just bringing out another aspect of themselves that is usually hidden.
So we are going to put you backstage for a bit, if you don't mind, if you could stick around.
Please be very polite.
Thank
I will.
you so much.
No, I meant Chris, people like
Please,
you.
Mistress, will you stick around backstage?
Oh, that's much better. See, you are trained.
He's learning.
I can learn. Okay, so I am going to put you backstage. We're going to do a little bit of ad love. Thank you so much for being here. This is, the reason we bring the guests we bring on is for unique points of view. And none of you have talked to a professional dominatrix. And if you have, there's no doubt in my mind that you are not going to talk about it right now. So it is fun to hear a little bit about it, but it's also, you've just got to keep thinking about the business effort. You've got to keep thinking about, what did you really realize today? Oh, it's like therapy. Well, you know what else is like therapy? All your stupid businesses, all of them are
all
therapy.
your important, valuable businesses.
That's what you like to say. Listen, it's so important to know that you can make your own show if you go to StreamYard. cbrogan.me/StreamYard. You can interview all the best dominatrixes, all the best passion coaches, all the best people who can write amazing amounts of books. Just make your own show. cbrogan.me/StreamYard. It's Carrie's fault we're on it. She figured it out. You did this.
I did.
Carrie, if I needed to spend, bring your own dominatrix. Listen, if you needed to spend $10,000 as an author to build a website to help promote your incredible work of book that no one's going to read,
stop it.
What would you recommend?
First of all, people will read your valuable and important work because it's your voice, and they may have heard some of that information before, but they have not heard it from you before. I learned that from Fazia Burke, who is a brilliant and wonderful book publicist and an author in her own right. So write that book. And when you do, you don't need $10,000 to get a website for it. You just need a 14-day free trial from PubSite, pub-site.com. You can build a website yourself. It's so easy to use. And if you absolutely don't want to touch that, they can build it for you. So pub-site.com, it will have all the bells and whistles you need to promote your book, to promote yourself as an author. Definitely check that out. Powered by FSB Associates, the leading book publicity firm. They've been in business 25 years, and they know what you need on your author website. So pub-site.com.
And for the first 14 days, it costs $100 a day.
It costs nothing at all for the first 14 days. And after that, it's just $19.99 a month. $19.99 a month.
That is ridiculous. Well, I wish we knew an author. I wish we knew an incredible author who just walked off set, because, that's what happens.
She's coming back.
Don't scare me like this, Karen.
She'll be back.
She's back. I'm hitting the button right now. We're going to
Okay.
bring in our friend, Karen.
Hello.
Hello. This is one morning where everything is going wrong.
Karen said that while she was backstage, so she just moved. Nothing is where it should be. Nothing's fully set up. And your dog just got sick, just to add to it.
To add to it.
One of those mornings, like I said, the app that I'm using right now, the plug just unplugged.
Oh no.
Nothing. Yeah. But
Oh, are you just lips only?
would have had to.
Oh my gosh. So Karen, if you don't know Karen already, I'm sorry. You should know Karen already. But if you don't know her already, Karen's deaf and doesn't let that get in her way ever. Karen is known for writing, I don't know how many books. How many books have you written for real?
I think I've written 14.
14.
Working on
Now,
16, 17, and 18 someday.
if you ever think you have a book in you, Karen is on 16, 17, and 18. So that will tell you how that is.
Y'all are lazy.
Lazy. Karen, like I said, is deaf. So there's lip reading, which is why there's a little enunciation. There's a few, we're trying a few things to make it easy. So if it sounds a little different, that's the only reason why. But Karen, the other thing people might know about you, if they had known you for some years, is one of your passions was barefoot water skiing. Why barefoot water skiing?
Why Dominatrix? See? We each have different paths that unfold for us in life. And it's our job to figure out what that passion is and what that path is. I'll give you a little background. I was born with normal hearing. I can remember being able to hear when I was a young child. And my whole family is deaf and hard of hearing. So I have 5 siblings, and there's an interesting story there. So we were all born with normal hearing, all of us. And we've all lost our hearing in different ways. My older sister was 3 when she fell off a chair, hit her head, became deaf in an instant. And my brother was 36 years old. He was at work. The roof fell in. He woke up 2 days later in the hospital, half of his hearing gone. And then my sister grew up with a unilateral hearing loss, started losing more hearing at the age of 27. And at the age of 46, she slipped down a rug and became deaf. Yeah, seeing a pattern here now. Then I have a brother, Kenny, who was the barefoot water skier in the family. And that is the reason why I got into barefoot water skiing as a teen, because of my older brother. When he was 42 years old, I was pulled him over a roller from another boat, fell in the water, and lost his hearing. And then to add a really nice twist to the story, I found a cousin 5 years ago who was also my half brother. So that might take you a few minutes there. My father had an affair with my mom's sister and produced a child who was also deaf. Yeah, and a twist to that story is that he was working with his cousin at the same job all these years. So there's probably a book there.
I could just sit here and listen to this all day.
Say that again? Wow.
I could listen to this all day.
Yeah. Well, for me, I found barefoot water skiing as a teen, and I loved this sport. And one day on a Sunday, I fell, got into the boat, and I had gone from hard of hearing to deaf in an instant. And I didn't know it. I thought I had water in my ear. I thought, no, the hearing would come back what little I had, and it never did. So from the age of 19 forward, deaf.
So could you tell me about your drive to write your first book, and then what made you make so many more? Because one cat and you have a pet, 16, 17, 18 cats, and you're a cat lady. So how did that happen?
what happened was from the age of 9, I loved writing. I wanted to be a reporter for the Chicago Tribune. But in high school, and I remember I was hard of hearing at that point, I took a journalism class and I failed miserably because I couldn't lip read. They sent me on an assignment to do the volleyball team, tried to interview the coach. It's noisy. I couldn't get anything. So I felt like I can't be a reporter. So fast forward, I just started writing, and then, well, there's two things that kind of entwine. First of all, at the age of 44, I tried barefooting again. I was over 200 pounds, couldn't get back on the water. And so I thought, oh, life is over. I'll never, ever be able to barefoot again. And I met a 66-year-old woman from the Today Show who was barefoot water skiing. And that show changed my life. And I got back on the water. She invited me to go to Florida and meet the 2-time world barefoot champion, Keith St. Ange. And when I met Keith, I took the second lesson from him and I said to him, what do you want to do 5 years from now? And he said, I want to write a book. And so I wrote his book. And that's what started the whole thing. And just from writing the first book, it was like, well, I have this knowledge, I'll write another book. And 14 books later, still writing.
More so than that, you encourage authors who sometimes fall back in their writing and feel less inspired. So I have heard that you maybe send text messages sometimes to some authors who aren't doing their job. I've heard that.
It goes both ways, though, because as I prod somebody else, I have to prod myself. Because now that you've announced that I'm writing another book, I suppose I better produce one.
What will the next book be about?
The next book is called The Law of Passion. It's actually a sequel to Unwrapping Your Passion, because I started finding out more and more things about passion. First of all, when you think about passion, there are all different kinds of definitions for it. But the one definition that I found actually came from Keith St. Ange's mom, and she said, passion is your joy. It's as simple as that. We make it so complicated. Passion is our joy. You know what brings you joy in your life. And when you can tap into that joy, then that energy just keeps expanding. Well, in the new book, I discovered that there are actually 5 levels of passion. I couldn't figure out why some people so passionate about what they do and do it for 30 years. And other people are saying, oh, I don't know what my passion is. What's going on there? And if you remember from Mistress Montana, she said that she was curious and she went to the library. See, that's the first level of passion. We're curious about something, we start learning more about it, then we get excited about it, then we become aware that, oh, this is my passion. And at the highest level, other people start recognizing our passion. That's the highest level of it. And that's what's going in the next book.
There have been many comments that have come in that we have to catch up with a little. Kara says, passion is your joy, and it's a joy to find your passion. Fazia, the book promoter and publicist, says, passion is your joy. My dad has now called you, Karen, the book lady, the way that we can call Suze the cat lady. So she's a cat lady. My cousin Melody came. So it's a very family affair here today. My cousin Melody's here as well. And then, my mom points out the relationship here, that Karen comes and stays with my mom and dad when she's visiting Vegas, and they talk probably every day.
Do they go barefoot water skiing?
My parents, yes. Oh, yeah, all the time.
I love your parents. And your mom made this.
Oh.
Piece of jewelry here I'm wearing, Diane Brogan made that. She has quite the talent. She's an amazing lady. But your parents are fantastic.
I love them.
And Kate is here. Hi, Kate. Karen, my question is when people hear that sometimes passion is your joy, they lock up, or they have some passion that they couldn't imagine being paid to do. I have to imagine Mistress Montana did not imagine she'd get paid to spank people. So how do people decide if their passion is their paycheck as well?
That's a good question. Here's the thing. Passion is energy. Whether you get paid for it or not, you can enjoy it. We get hung up on the idea that our paycheck has to be lined up with passion. It's actually the other way around. I'll give you an example. I spoke at $1 billion corporation that had a very large cost center. And then, as you can imagine, I mean, you're sitting on the phone all day long. There's not a whole lot of reward in that job. But that company did something unique. What they did is they tapped into everybody's individual passion and they shared it among themselves. So their passion became the joy every day of sharing it. One woman, she had a passion for making cakes. She ended up making unbelievable, beautiful birthday cakes for everybody in the company. So that's an example of how you can tap into that energy of passion. Not necessarily your job is your passion, but that you bring passion to your job. Now, having said that, here's the thing. A lot of times we get caught up in the idea of, I have to find the one passion and purpose in life. And we become paralyzed by it. When I meet people who feel that paralyzed of, oh my God, I don't know what my quote passion is, I bring them back to that basic level. What are you curious about? Start there. Passion is always born at the level of curiosity. As we become adults, we get hung up in daily routines and stuck in the muck of life that we forget where that curiosity level is, and we need to go back to that. Remember what you did when you were a kid? You didn't have a care in the world, and your curiosity grew. Go back to that level, being a kid again, beginner's eyes. If you've been curious about knitting, go pick up some knitting needles and find somebody to teach you. If you're curious about, maybe horseback riding, go volunteer at a local farm. Passion does not have to cost money at the level of curiosity. It doesn't. We often think that we have to have a whole bunch of money to live with passion. We don't. It's all in the attitude, in the heart, and the level of curiosity.
Wow. So much love happening in the comments for you, also for Diane Brogan.
A lot of
Everybody
love for
loves-
my mom.
So much love. She says, life is good and we're blessed to know you all. Deanna, I liked your question, Chris. Passion is energizing. Passing
the passion.
Kara is on her 274th daily sketch of this year. She found her sketching passion at 45 years old, right when you were getting back to barefoot skiing.
Right when you go back to barefoot skiing. And Kara just turned 45, 25 years from now. She's very young. So we are going to bring back Mistress Montana. We'll have a little panel. I almost said panic.
Wait, do you want which deer? Sometimes Chris likes people on certain sides.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have to be on the right side. Yes.
Yes, the correct side.
So I'm curious what Mistress Montana picked out from that conversation and as it relates to her job, because I know that some of what you've come to in being a dominatrix came at a different point. You weren't 14 or 16 or 20 when you decided you'd be a dominatrix.
No, I wasn't. And as a matter of fact, I went to college. I have 2 degrees from the University of Oklahoma, Boomer Center. And so my path, I gotten a degree in interior design. I have a minor in marketing. And I thought, this is what I'm going to do. And I didn't like it. I mean, you have an idea, right? They send you to college and you're supposed to know exactly what you want to be at 17, which I think is a crock. But, you get in there and some people do and some people don't. You think you know what you like, but it needs to be more about exploration to me at that time period of kind of, going through a lot of different things. I told both of my daughters whenever they were going to school, I said, you need to really find what it is that you like, that you enjoy, that you get, joy out of. And they're like, well, you may not be able to make money out of that. And I'm like, if you love what you do, you will be good at it. People will migrate towards you, and you will be successful in whatever it is if you like what you do, and I think it's kind of like what Karen said. It's a passion. If you have a passion for sports, I mean, maybe you can't be that soccer player at that level, but maybe you can be a coach and, you do it and it's a labor of love and, you make money at it because you're good at it. I mean, but somebody has a passion for, they spend a lot of time on it. They put a lot of effort into it because they want to be the best. They want to succeed, at it because it's something that they really like.
Kate's asking, are we not supposed to see Mistress Montana? You are correct. Her camera is off.
Yes.
Because Mistress Montana does not do on-camera interviews, but I so wanted to talk to her. I was like, I don't even care. I don't need the camera.
And you have to understand, for those of you who haven't seen her, she's more attractive than you'd even guess. And she also looks just like someone that you work with or that you know.
Christina discovered her passion for performing vaudeville at 45. Amazing.
And 50 now, and I hope that also includes also still performing.
Mhm.
So
I'm sure
I think
it probably does.
One last question, and then we'll ask our backpack question. But we'll also crown our person of the day, who I have somebody in mind. One last question for both of you is, when you wake up, what we're describing is how great it all is. There are days that we wake up and it's not great. What do you do, Karen, first? What do you do to jumpstart that energy to try to make it great? Or do you?
Chris, that's really good, because I do have days where I have dealt with depression, so I can relate to that, especially when you share that part. And definitely those days are not easy. But I will tell you that the things that I've learned in the last 10 years have made it much more easier to shift the mood, to shift my mindset using the tools. So for me, it's what I call the 3-3. In the morning before I get out of bed, I think of 3 things that I am grateful for. And in the evening before I go to bed, 3 things that I'm grateful for. There are journals that you can actually write. I think it's the 5-minute journal where you can do that. But that is an amazing way to really shift and think about what is important to you.
I agree with Karen. I think an attitude of gratitude is very, very important. Everybody has something that they can be grateful for, and it kind of shifts your mindset from all the things that are going wrong to, the things in your life that are right.
So we are at the part where I'm going to ask you a question about what do you put in your backpack? And you can only put one thing, and it could be physical or it could be metaphorical. So you can say passion. You could also say handcuffs. It's whatever you want to put in it. Just the one thing. But first, we do person of the day. And I have to apologize because I'm going to cover my face. So person of the day. And so I had someone come right to mind when I saw it. So the person of the day for today, just because I thought it landed at exactly the right moment to hear it, is Christina, who said that she discovered her passion for vaudeville at 45. And she's a young 50 now. So Christina, you just won person of the day. And you should know what that means is you're entitled to 1 apple. The apple looks exactly like that one. If you can find one of those in your store, and you can pay for it. So there you go. You got it. You're the person of the day. You were so glad you came by the backpack show now. Okay. So I'm back. The question is, what do we put in our backpack? You have one thing. Karen.
Okay. My phone does everything for me. gives me access, everything.
Very practical answer.
And I like the answer because that was not always true. It used to take more equipment, more steps to interact the way you need to with the hearing world. But now not.
Yeah.
Chris, Kate wants to know who sponsors Person of the Day. That would be PubSite, pub-site.com.
I
For
forgot.
authors who need websites.
Oh, I'm the worst. I do this
Congratulations.
every day and I still blew it. So pub-site.com. Mistress Montana, what goes in the backpack, please, mistress?
Your favorite vlogger?
Yeah, I'm actually going to say self-care. I think it's something that we don't really do enough of. We are so busy taking care of everybody else that a lot of times we forget to take care of ourselves. I guess it's kind of like on the airplane when they tell you, you know, if the oxygen mask comes down, put it over your face first before you help somebody else or help your, you know, child or whoever's with you. So I'm going to say self-care. I think that self-care is really important, especially in the climate we're in right now and everything that's going on.
Kate points out that your audience helps you. And I want to say that I don't have an audience. We have a community
that we serve.
And the difference between an audience and a community is which way you put the chairs. I'm not predictable.
I've been listening.
Now, listen, you've got to know that you can never presume that you know that someone is or isn't the kind of person who is or who visits a professional dominatrix. You never know. They can come from all different walks of life. Now, for instance, my grandmother said about someone really close to everybody's heart,